When I was working with corporate clients as an actor, all the time they would say, really want this to be out of the box, out of the box. And 9 times out of 10, by the time we were done, they were right back in the box.
They don't actually want to. Yeah.
Because there's that fear of putting that out there and going, oh gosh, they're going to really, this is different than, if I'm different and they don't like it, then I'm screwed.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to take that risk a little bit. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there and let people truly see you, let people really hear you.
Welcome to the Coachability Code podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me on another podcast on the Coachability Code podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Brian. He's awesome. Brian, if you could just introduce yourself briefly for the audience, that'd be great. And also just so much thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure to be here. I'm so glad. I appreciate you inviting me. My name is Brian LaFontaine. I am originally from Riverside, Rhode Island. I am the third of 5 children.
I love it. Yeah, I'll ask you some icebreaker questions and then we can kind of get into what you do and how you help people and all of that stuff. So if you don't mind answering, favorite book, favorite movie, and also a weird thing about you that you don't mind sharing that not everybody knows.
Oh, man. All right. Favorite book. I'm going to go with a grade school classic. Still, to this day, the book that I enjoy reading more in my entire life was Super Fudge by Judy Blume when I was in like the 5th grade.
Okay.
It was the funniest. It was part of, the Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing series that she did. And I just remember laughing so hard reading that book till I was crying. And to me, I was like, how do you beat that? There's nothing more memorable than reading something that makes you laugh so hard that you cry. So Super Fudge for all you grade school fanatics out there looking for some fun, fiction for your kids. Hysterical.
I love it. That's amazing. I love those kind of recommendations because I am of the mind that we should be reading fiction, nonfiction, all of the genres.
Yeah,
I love that.
for sure. Favorite movie, that's a tough one because doing what I've done for all these years, I have many answers to that question. So favorite movie, I'm just going to go with the go-to that I got to do it. I got to say When Harry Met Sally.
Okay.
When Harry Met Sally. Yeah. I'm not saying it's the best film ever made, but it's my favorite. It puts me in a feel-good place. So yeah, When Harry Met Sally, directed by Rob Reiner, 1989, I believe.
89, the year that I was born.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But I have seen that movie and I do like it a lot. So I like 80s and 90s flicks.
And then something weird or interesting about me that people don't know. Oof. I mean, I'm not going to tell you deep, dark secrets.
No, keep those.
Yeah. Let's see. Weird things about me. Probably the oddest thing that comes up that people are surprised to find out is that I originally went to college on a golf scholarship. Yeah. And then I ended up becoming an actor. So yes, I went to a very small school in Salisbury, North Carolina, and I had a very small golf scholarship to play. And I really sucked at golf, and they found out, and they kicked me off the team and took my scholarship back.
Oh man.
So yeah, yes, I got to the South by playing golf, all the way from Rhode Island.
And did you study acting there?
No,
It was a different place. Okay.
Well, no, I didn't. I didn't get my degree in theater. I didn't go to school to be an actor. I got my
Gotcha.
degree
Okay.
in Asians. Yeah, and the acting thing, because after I lost my scholarship, seriously, I started doing stand-up comedy. I got involved in student activities on campus. We were the group that brought in all the comedians and musicians and performers on the weekends, to entertain who was still on campus. And I became the house MC where I was just introducing people. And then that led into me taking the leap to actually doing stand-up. So I did stand-up for 3 years. And then that's what led into acting. No, I got my degree in communications, which is related, but not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Brian, thank you for answering those questions. It was always just fun. Admittedly, a bit selfish on the book question. I always like to just learn what people are reading so that I could pick it up and read it myself. But how do you answer the question when someone asks you, considering now, hey, Brian, what do you do? How do you answer that?
It's a tough one because I'm kind of in the middle of transitioning, and I don't
Mm,
really know what that means. I've been a professional actor for over 30 years, and it's been a huge part of my identity for over 3 decades because not everyone gets to do it, and I've been one of the fortunate ones who's been able to actually make a full-time career out of being an actor, whether it be spanning the entire spectrum of the medium from theater to film and television and commercials, corporate work, directing. I'm part of a small percentage, I know that, of people who actually get to make a legitimate living being an actor, to
yeah,
being a
yeah.
performer. So there's definitely a lot of pride that comes along with that because when you cocktail party conversation, there's pretty good chance that you're going to be the only one in the room who does what I do.
Yep.
And it's made me pretty interesting to people. So there's definitely some ego that goes along with that. As much as I pride myself on being a humble guy, there's something cool about knowing that people are going to go, "Oh, you've been on this show. You've been on this show. I saw that." That's kind of exciting and fun. But a couple years ago, that started to change after 3+ decades. And I had to
Hmm.
shift and figure out what I was going to do, how I was going to pivot. And so that's what has taken me since then into public speaking coaching and doing more speaking. How do I describe myself now to people as far as what I do? I am still, yeah, it is. It's hard. It's hard for me to actually say the words out loud. I'm spending more of my time on the public speaking side of the business, much time on the acting side of the business, if for no other reason than the acting business is not giving me much choice. The
Mm,
opportunities aren't there right now. It's not coming the way that it used to. And it probably never will. Honestly, it has probably changed and shifted, and it will never go back to being the glory days for me are probably over. And that's
hmm.
hard for me to admit and fully let go of and say, I'm a public speaking coach now, full time, even though that's probably a more accurate answer now.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting because I mean, I feel like so many people will relate to that. This podcast is for coaches by coaches, right? But like so many people, even if they're not coaches and not whatever, they're going to relate to that in terms of pivoting and transitioning. And I feel like it's so common. And that's why I like the question because it's so hard to define what we are, right? It's like what we do right now. And it does become so defining that,
Absolutely.
especially, I mean, I haven't done something for that long for 30 years. I mean, that's amazing that you were able to do it for that long a period of time. But I can only imagine the difficulty in transition of like, okay, I'm changing not who I am necessarily, but what I do and how I answer that question. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. It is. And actually, I'm gonna a keynote speech that I'm giving on Friday, this Friday
Hmm.
coming up. That's up literally. It's on that subject. It's on that. It's that part of the story that is pertinent to the topic for what the event is about. So I'm going to be interested to see how that works out.
Yeah, and I yeah, I definitely want to hear more about that at some point. It sounds super interesting. I mean, me and you got connected just when I was connecting with people on LinkedIn who are coaches. And I saw that you were a speaking coach, and I said, that's cool. I didn't know the acting history. So for me, like I see the speaking coach, and we've already talked about that a little bit. And I think,
Right.
yeah, at the end of our connect call together, you're like, I'm also an actor. And that's like, I didn't realize that. I was focused on the now, right? So even that's interesting too. Like when you meet someone new and you say, yep, this is what I do. I'm a speaking coach. And then, I mean, yeah, that is still part of who you are, but then you have this new part of you that you're starting to talk about too. So it's interesting catching someone in that kind of transition period too.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I enjoy it like immensely. It's incredibly rewarding to do the work that I'm doing, working with people in public speaking and just communications in general. To be able to to take all the years of experience that I've gained as a performer and
Hmm.
being in front of audience, being on stages, putting myself out there in front of a group of people, whether it just be in an audition situation in a room or on a stage in front of 1,000 people. I know what that's like. And I know, I mean, on every part of it, I know what it's like to crash and burn and hear crickets, when you're done doing your shtick, and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Cool.
getting
Yeah.
that, yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
that. Or getting that overwhelming response where the audience has been with you the entire time and they jump to their feet and you have this wonderful, just euphoric shared experience with them. So to be able to help other people feel that even just for a moment it's really fulfilling to be able to know that my 30 plus years of experience as a performer was not just all about me. Honestly, there's a part of me that's very much like, oh, wow, I feel like now all of that was leading up to this.
Yeah.
That was the training ground for me to be able to now take this chapter of my life and lend it to other people so that they can be successful in that way.
I want to dig into that more. I have some other questions in mind that I'm kind of percolating based on what you were
Okay.
sharing, but I'm curious, what is the primary reason someone seeks out those public speaking services? Is it that they have a keynote that they're going to be delivering?
It's all of the above. I think we talked about this when we first chatted. In the professional world, we often get asked that question, who is your ideal client?
Yeah.
And most people have a very specific answer in mind who their ideal client is. And mine is more of like, who is my dream client? Like, who would
Hmm.
I ideally like to be working with? But I know that I've learned what I've seen in the past couple of years is that communication and speaking skills are needed across every profession. I don't care what you're in, every profession. Most people don't enjoy speaking. And it's not even just about public speaking on a stage, doing a keynote. For some people, it's corporate presentations. It's pitching their founders who are pitching their ideas and their business. It's salespeople who I've worked with people who are in the sales business. And when I start working with them, thank God they've reached out to me. They're like, hey, I need help with this. And they're the ones going out there, like literally pitching the product for this much larger company. And I don't understand how the company was like, yeah, you're the person who should be out there selling this. I've had people who truly almost have a panic attack every
Mm.
time in front of a group of people. And it's like, please let me help you. If they're forcing you out there and you said yes to accepting this in the first
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
and you're dying inside before you even step in the room, then please let me help you. Yeah, it really is a very broad spectrum of communication skills in a number of ways, whether it be helping people, I work with people in preparing podcast
Hmm.
interviews, getting prepped for that. I have clients who have written books and they're getting ready to publish their books, and they've got a keynote that they're trying to put together for when the
Hmm.
book launches, and they can start to work that. I've been a TEDx coach, you name it. It kind of covers the whole spectrum of communications across the board.
Yeah, and that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like that it's that communication piece of here, I have to share my ideas. Or I like how it even crosses over into the sales arena too, because that makes a ton of sense. With anything in sales, you have to talk to people. But I imagine it could carry over into so many other areas too of people that you're potentially helping with. So yeah, you wouldn't necessarily want to limit it to a specific. I mean, yeah, it's good to have your ideal customer profile in mind. You're like a dream
Yes.
client, but yeah, you don't want to limit it too much because yeah, I feel like with your rich history of experience getting up in front of people, I could only imagine you could just instill that confidence in people and say, okay, this can be all right, even if there are crickets like after this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most people are afraid of those silences and the
Hmm.
quiet, taking that pause. I'm sure that you've been to a number of conferences or been on a number of Zoom calls or heard speakers who, once they start going, they don't take a breath and they just keep talking because if
Yeah.
they stop talking, then someone's going to die. And it's really just more of that brief moment of that split second of silence can feel like an eternity. And when you're the speaker, when you're the presenter, most people have, unfortunately, that self-imposed mindset of, I have to be the smartest person in the room. I have to have all the answers. I don't know who told them that. I don't know what makes them feel that way. I understand why they would feel that way, but it's to help them to actually relax into the fact that you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You were sent there because you have knowledge and experience to share, but you can't pretend to know more than what you know. So let's just take that pressure off of you right from the get-go, and let's go with what you have to share with them, what you can share with them, what you can give to them from
Yeah.
your experience, from your expertise, whatever you've gone through to get you to this point, to make you the authority, at least for the moment, on this subject.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on that. Yeah.
And let's talk about the people you've worked with. We don't have to name them by name, but curious if you can think of someone that's been your best client or someone that's has had a lot of success with you. Talk
Sure.
about that a little bit. What made it a successful experience with you and then also for them in general for what they were trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I work with a CEO of a executive coaching company or leadership company, life coaching, however, all those things fit under their umbrella.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. And I know her really, really well. She's got an incredible personality. She's got a fantastic sense of humor. She is the type of person that just when she walks in the room, everybody feels better because she's there. And her company just kept building and building, and they were getting in front of more organizations and groups. And just like most people, when you're building a business, there's a lot of different things that come into play, and something's going to end up getting sacrificed as a result of all the other responsibilities that come along with it. And for her, it was her speaking preparation. And she was starting to just kind of phone it in and get into a routine and a rut because she was juggling all these other things at the same time.
Yeah.
And so when I started working with her, I guess she got some mixed reviews from some talks that she had done, and it started to bother her. And she's like, all right, I want to talk about this. So she reached out to me, and when we started working together, I noticed that she would change who she was when she would go into her talk. It was basically off camera personality, like just you and I talking like this. And then as soon as she was on, something would change. She would kind of go into performance mode, and her voice would change, and the way that she spoke would change, and the look on her face, her expression changed, and the way that she carried herself changed. And I'm very hands-on when I'm working with someone in a session. And she had done this a couple times, and we had talked about it, and I was like, to myself, I'm thinking she's doing it again. And
Yeah.
I just let her go. And she talked for about 15 minutes as she was rehearsing this part of a talk that she was doing. And we got to a stopping point, and she was like, wow, you didn't stop me. She's like, I must be doing really good. And I just asked her, I said, what are you doing? And she said, what do you mean? I said, why are you changing who you are when you go into your talk? And she started crying at this whole breakdown. I just hit her with that question that she knew as well as I did. And she said, you're right. She said, because I see these other female CEOs, these amazing, confident, powerful women who seem to have it all together. And I feel like that's what I have to be like in order to be a CEO. And I said, no, oh my God, no. No. One, again, who told you that? Two, you don't know anything about these women. They could be miserable. They could be faking it. You know nothing about them. And three, they're not you.
Yep.
You're not them. What you have to bring to it, what you have to offer is completely different than what they're doing. Don't try and be like them. Be like you. This is the reason why when you walk into a room, everyone's drawn to you. This is why this is why clients want to work with you. This is why your business is building so rapidly because of the person you are off stage. We want to take the offstage person and put that person on stage without changing anything. And as soon as she clicked into that, and I was like, I want you to be, I'm encouraging you to be unapologetically you. Your sense of humor, your personality, your quirks, all you don't change anything, because the last thing that we want you to do is to be like everyone else. I feel like that's a big part of what we're seeing now. Everybody's got a platform. Everybody's got a message that they're getting out, and I think that there's a mindset, like there's a good enough mindset of like, that's good enough. Well, if everybody's doing the same thing, how do you stand out? How do you separate
Yeah.
yourself from the others? So when I was working with her, I was like, I want you to be unapologetically you. And one, I promise you, you'll still be just as professional. You'll still be seen as just as professional, but you're going to be so much more dynamic and different from the others that as soon as you open your mouth, people are going to go, what is this? And that's exactly what happened. Shortly after that, actually, the talk that we were working on, she ended up doing it a couple weeks later. It was in front of 400 people, and she blew the roof off of the place. Like, she was giddy. She couldn't wait to talk
Amazing.
when it was over. And, she actually said there was a gentleman who was at the conference who literally chased her out of the room because he thought that she was going to leave before he got a chance to talk with her. And he ended up becoming a client. Like, it
Yeah.
ended up becoming like rock star style. She got chased out of the
That's
convention.
awesome.
So, yeah, it's stuff like that. Really, I'm going, it gets me choked up when those things happen. I'm like, I can't believe that I help you have that experience.
Yeah. To me, that being unapologetically you is how you find success in that. But I also see it on LinkedIn. I see it with people who are, I'm in the book writing world, but I definitely see it there too. Because exactly what you said, people, sometimes they feel like they need to be like everyone else. And then they
Yes.
write a draft with AI, or they don't tell their story. And then I'm looking at it. What are we adding here? What are you saying? So
Exactly.
not just how they're presenting themselves, but the actual information they're giving too. is
Right.
just bland and boring and it's not interesting. And if you're not unapologetically you, then you're going to get lost in the sauce of everything else in the world. And you're
Yes.
not going to stand out and you're not going to write anything. Or so I totally resonate with all of that because it can be from the heart, which means it can be, I'm not talking about like performance and getting on a speech, but like a first draft of a book, it can be sloppy. It can be messy. Even that people have a hard time with and they're uncomfortable with that, even presenting themselves in a first draft in that way. And I think it's good to practice a little bit of not of that, right? Of being a little bit sloppy and messy if it means you're being you. So
Absolutely. I'm a big fan and cheerleader for people allowing people, and it goes back to my acting training. I mean, it was when I was in the thick of my acting profession and I was auditioning, it was me and 1,000 other people. No, literally for every audition. Didn't matter if it was a big, huge,
mhm.
guest role, if it was one line and one scene.
Yeah.
It was me and 1,000 other people that I'm never going to see. I have no idea what their audition is. So what can I bring to this moment on this, in this story that can try and make me stand out from everybody else? Looking at it and going, okay, what's everybody instinctively going to do, with this material? And I can already just kind of rule out 80% of the people are going to do this and they're going to get lost in the shuffle. Now we're down to the last 20%. What can I do to narrow that down to at least get into that 10%, where at that point the one person that they choose, anybody in that 10% could do it really, really well.
Yeah.
And the reason
Yeah.
why they choose them are circumstances beyond my control. So it's the same thing in this work, is that you've got to let your audience, and I'm sure it's the same as a writer, you've got to, your audience has to get to know you in some way. So you
Yeah.
have to be willing to open up. And I'm not talking about, again, dumping out your dark, dirty little secrets, but giving them a chance to get to know you, how you think, what you think, how you feel about what you think. It can't just be this, like you said, this generic, structured, safe. We've been talking so long for years and years about stepping outside the box.
Yeah.
And when I was working with corporate clients as an actor, all the time they would say, "We really want this to be out of the box, out of the box." And 9 times out of 10, by the time we were done, they were right back in the box.
They don't actually want to. Yeah.
Because there's that fear of putting that out there and going, "Oh gosh, they're gonna really, this is different than I don't, if I'm different and they don't like it, then I'm screwed."
Yeah.
And it's you've got to be willing to take that risk a little bit. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there and let people truly see you, let people really hear you. And again, it's coming from you. You're not saying this is the end all. I'm not the smartest, most amazing, speaking coach out there, and I'm sure that there are going to be people who listen to this and go, "I don't really get I don't get this guy's vibe." That's cool. We don't have to. There are a bunch of other
Hmm.
people. You need to find your person. You need to find your space. You need to find your slot that works for you. That's all I'm trying to help people do.
Yeah. And I think just responding to that, like, yeah, if it's, you got to be memorable, right? Like,
Yes.
it's either like be memorable or be completely forgettable and ignorable. And if you're
Yes.
one of those 1,000 people, and like, say, if you're one of the 80% that is just ignorable, then maybe you should have been a little bit crazy, like, or done something different or weird. Like, at least you're going to get a little bit of attention. Not that you have to like stand upon that and make that your, don't show up to the everything in a clown costume or something. Like, don't be ridiculous, but
But
also don't be ignorable. It's so much worse than
absolutely.
being unique.
And again, it goes back to my acting experience, my acting training. It was like, what's the worst that can happen if I take
Mm.
this? Are they going to cast me any less?
Yeah,
I'm all,
exactly. Yeah.
what if I take this little extra step, take this little extra leap, and it does make a difference? And I mean, I've had that happen where I didn't necessarily get the job, but they remembered me, or I made it into the
Hmm.
final. Like, we've got to find a way to use this guy somewhere. And it totally worked in my favor. It absolutely worked in my favor. Did it work every time? No, because there's too many of us competing
Yeah.
for the same job. They can only choose one person. But you want to be able to stand out and make an impression so that they do remember you in some way, so that you don't just blend in. Don't just blend in.
Yeah.
Blending's for makeup. It's not for what we do.
Yeah. If you've worked with someone that was more difficult to work with, or it was harder to kind of have those breakthroughs, what went on there? Like, have you worked with anyone that it was like, oh, maybe wasn't a great fit, or I'm not sure how to help them through these barriers?
I've certainly had those because of exactly what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
There are those people who are more willing to put themselves out there, regardless of how safe I make people feel. I'm not a magician and I'm not a therapist. And there's an awful lot of, and we laugh, but there is an awful lot of emotional and mental history that goes along with why people are the way they are.
Hmm.
Why are people so afraid to let themselves be seen? Well, that's deeper stuff that I'm qualified to really dig
Hmm.
into or handle. I do my best with it, but I mean, I do always qualify and say, look, I am not a therapist. I am not a life coach. I can't help you dig into stuff beyond a certain level. But I had a guy who I was working with pretty regularly, who was a salesperson, and he would have to be that example that I used when we first started talking. He was that kind of the front-facing, sales rep who was going out from company to company trying to sell the product,
Yeah.
and he was stuck to a rigid script of I can only talk about these things, and they want me to talk about them their way. But at the same time, this guy was a really he was a big introvert. He was a really shy, quiet guy. He was very, very tight in here. His mouth really didn't move very much when he talked and when he
Mm.
fast. So people would always be like, they would ask him, what did you say? What did you say? And he would
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
repeat himself. So it made him even more self-conscious because then he
Yeah.
felt stupid because he's thinking, man, nobody even understands what I'm saying. So this dude came with a truckload of stuff, history with him.
Yeah.
And and along with that was a lot of self-defeating talk. Even when we were making progress on things, he would find threads to pull apart on himself. And it was like, man, we've got to get you to stop. You got to stop saying shitty things to yourself. We've got to find a way for you to look at the success you're having and just only focus on that. We're always going to find little things that it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. We can always find things that we can nitpick and we can dissect until we're dead. There's only so much that you can do. Let's try and stay focused on the positive. I mean, I love the man to death. I really do. And I really do enjoy working with him. And we were making really, really great progress. But that was the hardest thing, was to get him to truly stay in a positive mindset for himself and to embrace the strides that he was making, the progress that he was making, to really own that, because I think that makes a huge difference in really turning that corner on feeling confident in front of a group of people.
Yeah. And that this is a topic that has come up on other episodes in this podcast on the balance, and that, not really balance, but like seeing when people need more help than we can offer.
Exactly.
And and I've seen that even in book coaching. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to help you find a time to write your book, but how much of my work should blend over into like productivity coach or time management? Okay, it's part of it for sure. I'm going to help you try to find the best times that you can write. Like that's part of what I do. But I cannot make you go to the cafe. I cannot make you put the time in your calendar. And then yeah, if you have any of those deeper issues, there could be a deeper block there that's preventing you from telling your story. That
Exactly.
how can I actually, okay, I can't. I'm not a therapist. So it's been very interesting to me to define those lines in what I do and try to not cross over the barriers. And other people have said the same thing, that it's challenging. I mean, it could be the same thing for a health coach. They're dealing with deep-seated habits and life experiences. They're trying to get people slowly start to change those things. So I was just thinking about that because I'm like, wow, that would be really hard, I feel like, for a health coach to define those lines. But I feel like it's part of the work of every coach, right? Because there's always going to be, because everyone's an individual, we're human. There's always going to be other things that other baggage and other problems we have completely
Right.
unrelated to what we're trying to get you to help us with. So
And it's all very personal. It's all very personal. I mean, even if
yeah.
we go back to the most simplest terms of coach and just related to sports, you take any football coach, basketball coach, baseball coach, any sports coach, he or she, they have anywhere from what, 12 to 20 people on their team or more. Those are all 12 to 20 to 30 different personalities from
Hmm.
different backgrounds. And they're trying to get them all to perform in a cohesive way that connects so that they can go out and produce together as a group. You've got all these different individual personalities and stories and backstories and histories and ways of working. It's no different than when I'm directing a play. I've got 6 actors who have all learned how to act from different schools, different theories, different
Hmm.
minds, different approaches. And I have to be able to communicate with each one of them in a different way that's applicable to them, so that when they get on stage, they're all telling the same story in the same world. It's all really, really personal stuff. And it does take
Yeah.
that personal connection between the coach and the client, whether it be in small groups or in one-on-one. You've got to be able to make that connection with that person in order to hopefully just even get anywhere. So
Yeah.
certainly understand why there's so many different coaches out there and people are shopping around just like anything else.
Yep.
Okay, let me try you on for size. It's like
Mhm.
dating in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it is. So it's so interesting. Curious, Brian, what areas have you been coached yourself? And then the second part to that question, how has it helped you to become a better coach at what you do?
I'm getting some business coaching right now.
Okay.
I did do some leadership coaching, life coaching for a short time. It was all good. The business coaching is, it's crazy to say because I never thought that I would like anytime I would think about business, I would be like, ah, I'm not cut out for this.
Yeah.
But I think while it is still personal, there's a little bit more of a surface level of like, okay, task oriented stuff to try and move to the
Hmm.
next. And I feel like I'm making a lot more progress in that than I was with the life coach. While the life coaching
Hmm.
was extremely helpful and useful. Again, that was much more deeper in personal, trying to pull out all the dirt that creates the habits that you have. Why, all the self-defeating mindsets that you have, all the self-destructive behavior, all
Yeah.
the obstacles that we create for ourselves that, usually get dealt with in a leadership or life coaching environment. Yeah, that's much more personal. So that's always a lot harder to dig up.
Yeah.
Where business coaching, we can stay a little bit more on the surface. It can be a little bit more clean and like clear. Okay,
True.
this task, yes, yeah. So both beneficial, but one's taking a lot less mental toll on me than the other one was.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I never really thought about that, but you're totally right. I would guess even like business coaching, even what I do too, right? Like if someone says, Jordan, I don't want to share that. I'm like, okay, cool. We don't have to share that. Whereas like
Yeah,
I can imagine with life coaching, if you're like, oh, I don't want to share that. And maybe, it would be okay, but then it's closer to therapy and like, well,
yeah,
maybe because you don't want to share it, maybe you should share it. Like I could imagine someone saying that, like, whereas, yeah,
exactly.
there's differences in like how much you're going to dig.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
What qualities do the people you're working with generally possess that once you find that they graduate, what are some of the things that they have in common, the ones that are really finding success with working with you?
I would say the ones that are really finding success, the things that they have in common is just we've already touched on a little bit. It's their willingness to fall on their face,
Yeah.
to try anything, and to know that it's all a process. They're the ones that are doing the work outside of the work that we do. All too common, the all too common epidemic of working with a client. And I thought actors were the laziest people in the world. No, it's just people in
Yeah,
general.
it's people, yeah, everybody.
You know, I thought when I started doing public speaking coaching, I was like, oh, these people are professionals and their careers rely on this in some way. So clearly, the work that we do in session, they're going to go home after and work on it and come back with something that they've built from that. They're going to build on it. No, not always the case.
Yeah.
Most of the time, not the case. I can't tell you how many times I had people show over my door being like, I haven't worked on this since the last time we met. And I'm like, okay. So I'd say the ones that have the greatest success, that's the one thing that they have in common is that they're willing to throw themselves into it, like truly just head first and immerse themselves in it as much as possible because they do have their goals set and they're serious about trying to reach them. And they're willing to, like I said, they're willing to make a fool of themselves, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I mean, they're willing to try new things. They're willing to push themselves beyond their comfort zone. They trust me enough to know that, again, we're in a safe space. I'm not asking you to, run through the grocery store in your underwear. No, this is you and I just connecting as people. No one's ever going to know what this conversation was. No one's going to see the mistakes that you make. And we're going to take this and we're going to let's see what worked, let's see what didn't work, and let's try it again. The
Yep.
ones who are willing to do that are the ones that have the greatest success, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like not to mention the fact that if you're doing that and not putting the work in, you're going to be wasting money. But I feel like
Yep.
you're doing yourself a disservice if you show up to any coaching, whether it be business coaching, book coaching, or on the other end, like health coaching, life coaching, no matter what it is, you're doing yourself a disservice by not doing some action steps in between.
Right.
Like you're
Right.
showing that you don't like, maybe it's too harsh to say this, but I'll say it anyway. You're showing that you don't trust the coach, right? You're
I,
showing that you have a lack of okay, I'm not really gonna take what you say into action. I'm listening, but I'm not really gonna put it into practice. And I'm gonna show up next week. I didn't do
it
anything. Like
may,
to me, it's like, oh, come on.
it may be some of that. You might be right. I think it's just as much, and it's only because I know that my brain works this way at times. Of it's easier to stay stuck.
Yeah, true.
This is more. I'm familiar with this. I'm familiar with staying exactly where I am, and it's that unknown of if I do this, and what if it doesn't go the way that I want? And on the flip side of it, what if it does go the way that I want? Now I'm responsible for continuing to grow this thing in a greater way. We say that we want these things. I think for a lot of people in the professional world, they're being forced into these roles that they didn't necessarily think that were going to be a part of their job. And I'm sure that there's a good level of fear of the expectation of if I reach this next level, oh God, then what? Now I've got to sustain this and I've got to continue to produce at this level. It looks and sounds really appealing from down here, but once I get there, well, now I have to really do it. I'm
Hmm.
sure it's probably some mixed levels of all those things.
No, it's like a fear. So I totally think you're right on board with that last one. I think it's a fear of success more than failure that some people have, and that's very human. Even if we don't want to admit it, like I'm fearful about putting this project out there. Like we have
Right.
those thoughts. Oh, then I'd have the attention that I'd have to do even more work, and then yeah, then life would be different, and maybe I don't want
Yeah.
different. Maybe I'm scared of different, which is
Yeah.
normal, and that's even okay.
Me personally, I am more of fear of success than fear of failure. I'm sorry, fear of failure than fear of success.
Hmm.
Fear of success I never really wrapped my head around that. Mine was really more of fear of failure,
Yeah.
of putting myself out there and getting rejected. That
Hmm.
was my thing. Again, show business. How many auditions do you not get? Most of them. I worked in a profession for over 30 years that was built on failure and rejection. So that became an ingrained thing, I think, of like, put your best work out there and we're going to tell you no.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure, again, I think it all depends on the individual, and both sides are completely legitimate for sure.
Have you found that experience and that basically the practice of getting rejected? This kind of a leading question, but I am curious. Have you found that this has been helpful for your coaching business now as you're talking to people, as you're potentially working with people?
It is absolutely helpful. The scary part of the fear of failure now is I've spent over 30 years as an actor, and there wasn't one day during my career where I didn't wonder, what if today's the last day? What if today is the day when
Mm,
all of it stops? What if today's the day the phone stops ringing? And my last job was the one that I had 2 weeks ago. What if I never work again? What am I qualified to do? The
hmm.
public speaking work was something that didn't even occur to me until someone brought it up to me. They were like, "Have you ever thought about this?" And it was like, "Oh gosh, I could do that."
Yeah.
So now I feel like it's even more delicate. It's like, if this doesn't work, oh shit, then what?
Mm,
I feel like honestly, on some level, I feel even more pressure to have this be successful because it's like, one, I'm not 25 anymore. I don't have another 30 years to build a career like I did
hmm.
before. So it's like there is, I think, that subtextual pressure of I have to make this work or else I'm screwed. And if I put myself out there and it fails, oh damn, then what happens now? So yes, has being an actor and facing rejection helped me in this? Yes, it is. But there's definitely, yeah, an unspoken level of pressure to make this be even more successful because with acting, it's like, well, you don't get this audition, another one will come. There'll be more auditions, there'll be more auditions. And I don't know how that equates on this side of the business. I don't know. I'm not saying it does or it doesn't. I haven't quite figured that out yet to understand, hey, Can you be just like, sing and there's no coming back from it? I don't know. Hopefully I don't have to find that out.
Yeah, I mean, I just speaking from my own experience, and I know other coaches have different stories with this, and the different service providers have different experiences, but there's so much that like pressure helps in that
Oh,
like,
for sure.
I have to make this work, right? I'm gonna push and I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to make it work. And yeah, obviously you know that in terms of like you getting rejected and going through
Right.
that. But like, yeah, it's so interesting because yeah, there's no answer for that, right? Like I could give you like, oh, this has been my experience, or like I have like you'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be fine. Like people could like cajole you in that way. And maybe
Right.
you will, maybe you won't, but like you can't, there's nothing guaranteed.
No,
But
no.
I will say that public speaking is something that people definitely need help with, and I can see that you're able to help people. Like I love that you shared the story of the lady you helped, because I mean, think that's such a
Right.
good experience for you and for them. But yeah, I mean, I know that I see it. I see people. I would say even more so as AI becomes a thing, and as people get more comfortable with being even lazier than we already are. You know, we're lazy as human beings. Okay, we want to be
Sure.
lazy. That's a common factor that we all have. But then we're not going to be thinking critically as much, and then we're not going to have anything to say, and we're also going to need help saying it. So maybe you'll have even more job security in the future. Who knows?
So honestly, I've had conversations with other people who are pretty deep into the AI world and
Hmm.
profession. And what I have heard, and I'm trying to take some comfort in that, it's like because of all of that stuff, that we're going to continue to thirst for more actual human connection
Yeah.
because of all these other things that are happening automatically. So people are going to want to be in rooms with groups of people. Live theater and live performance or just live interactions are going to actually potentially become more and more in demand. So I'm hoping that, yeah, that continues to be that way and that there will constantly be a continued growth and flow and opportunity for people to gather and just share ideas, share stories, share their thoughts, share their experiences, if for no other reason than to keep that connection with each other just on a person-to-person human level.
Yeah, and I feel like in an ideal world, which we don't live in, but we can dream, you know, in an ideal
Right.
world way. Like we'll want that, because
Yes.
if so much is getting automated, then what are we going to do? Like I think we want that human connection, and we want to be able to relate. And if you're better at that, and if you can talk to people and share about what you do, and even just the sharing about what you do can be a helpful thing to learn. I don't know if you help people with that, but I know that like even just going on podcasts, even just talking to people, having coffee chats with people, when they say, Jordan, what do you do? Or Brian, what do you do? It's like, okay, I need to answer that question again. And for me, every
Yes.
time you answer that, you get a little bit more experience. So,
Absolutely. No, I work with people on that too. Some people that have a harder time with one-on-one interactions and are more
mhm.
comfortable in group settings. But when they go to a networking event or when they have to have a one-on-one meeting, yeah, it's a little bit more nerve-wracking and stressful for them. So I work with people in all levels of interpersonal communications, basically.
Mhm.
Again, whether it's something like this or large groups of people and everything in between.
Yeah. So with that, what has been successful for you in growing your coaching business? I know you said it's relatively new, but curious, what are some of the strategies you've had? Because I know all coaches, we're all trying to grow our businesses, and we don't know what we don't know. And you know,
Yeah.
any one strategy can be, oh wow, I really like that. I'm going to start doing that.
Mine has been my acting background because I don't have a business background. I don't necessarily have a sales background or a marketing background. My strength was being in front of an audience.
Hmm.
So in the earlier building stages where I was getting most of my success was when I could do my thing in front of a group of people. So it was being at a networking event. It was being brought in as just a guest speaker to do a mini workshop at a networking event, or yeah, it was giving people the opportunity to actually see me in action in some way, to see my personality, to see how approachable I am, to see how much I enjoy connecting with people, and I wasn't trying to sell them on anything. What that all boils down to is I took my strongest asset, which was my
Hmm.
background as a performer, and I used that to help get me into a lot of rooms and in a lot of doors, or at least into a lot of face to faces with people. And for other people, it might be, I've got a stronger marketing background. Then cool, lean on that. I've got a better background in writing or whatever. So I mean, your strengths are going to come from what you feel the most confident about. And that's one of the things that I say to people is that when do you feel most confident? And their answer is almost always in some way, shape, or form, when I know what I'm talking about. Then that's where we need to come from. Where are you your most confident? Because when you're standing in front of a group of people or a person, you're going to feel most in your body, you're going to feel the most grounded, you're going to feel the most present when you're talking about something that you know, and you're not having to pull stuff out of your ass, you're not having to make stuff up, you're not having to pretend to be something that you're not. You truly just get to be you. So embracing what your strengths are and starting from there. That's what happened with me. And now I'm slowly but surely bringing in some of those other elements. Like I said, business coaching. I don't have that background. So trying to build some confidence there so that I can do that. But that's what worked for me. That's what worked for me the most, hosting workshops, because again, I got to be on my feet and kind of in show mode and use my personality and my sense of humor to bring people in. That's what worked for me the best when I was first starting out. And I mean, honestly, I'm certain that that's going to continue to be my greatest strength. I'm just hoping that I can add to it as I continue to build it.
Yeah. And okay, I love that because it's like full circle because what we were talking about before, right? With being unabashedly you and embracing that. Because I know people feel that way. They start doing business online and then they see how everyone else has had or has found success. And they go, okay, I have to do all those things. And then they forget what they're best at. They don't bring their strengths. That is where to start. Okay, yes, you can improve, you can grow, you can get all these other areas, you can start an email list, you can do all the things and have all the strategy.
Right.
And remember what it's going to be very difficult for you if you're trying to do all those things without doing the thing that feels most true to you, right? If you want to be in a room with people, do that. If you love going on podcasts, do that. If you love, I write, so I'm going to write blog posts. I'm going to make sure I'm spending time doing that. Not only does it help me get reps in for what I do, but it also brings people to me in that way. So always remembering what I think it's just an important reminder because it's so easy to hear all the noise from the other gurus telling that you have to follow these strategies. Okay, maybe do some of the strategies, but also you know what you should be doing, right? Like you have an intrinsic sense of this is the best first step for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, you've got to go with what you know. It was always the first thing, even when I'm sure that you can relate to this. For most actors, a lot of us, and somewhere along the way, we tried to create our own work. So that meant that you had to write your ideas down. You had to write a script. You had to tell a story. And we were always told, where do you start? And it was always write what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's true for anybody. You got to start with what you know, and you can't pretend to know more than that.
Yep. I love it. I think it's full circle. The last question I'll ask you, Brian, is where can people find you if they want to work with you? And I'll put the links in the show notes and everything, but if you could just share where it's best to connect with you.
Absolutely. You can find me through my website at brianlafontaine.com. There's email information in there as well, but you can also email me at brianlafontainecoaching@gmail.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram.
Awesome. Love it. Well, Brian, thank you so much for being here with us today. Super appreciated the conversation. Enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, Jordan. I appreciate you having me. It was a fun conversation.
Awesome. Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got 2 CTAs for you. Number 1, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number 2, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan@jmring.com.